Thank you, Bishop Larry, for sharing your stories and your imaginings of what could be here in the Synod of Alberta and the Territories. And to Paul for walking us through the Synod's gift acceptance policy and the launch of the Ponder a New Vision Fund. I trust that you, like me, were inspired, and the wheels are starting to turn about what you might be able to do to help make these visions a reality. Hi, I am Kathryn Smith, the Giving Advisor with Charitus. I'm joining you here tonight from my home in Guelph, Ontario, where it is not minus 30 degrees, but we are expecting a big storm tomorrow. So kind of a different way of looking at things. I admire you for your determination out there. It is a privilege to be invited here tonight by Bishop Larry to tell you a bit about Lutheran Plan Giving and how you can make a difference by supporting and maintaining the Ponder a New Vision Fund. Before we move too far forward, though, I'm excited to introduce Charitus. Charitus is the new name and brand of the distinctive charity that many of you have known as LFEC. Charitus continues to be the faith-based, values-driven, unique national charitable organization that you have known as LFEC. We are pleased to offer investment support and a variety of charitable programs and services to individuals and organizations across Canada. We continue to support Lutheran communities across this great country. Charitus has a threefold mission: to support investments, to encourage charitable giving, and to offer charitable contributions through a range of granting programs. We recently had the pleasure of assisting youth from the ELCIC attend the Canadian Lutheran Anglican Youth Gathering in Waterloo. I am here today to tell you a bit about Lutheran Plan Giving, one aspect of Charitus. You may be wondering, what is plan giving? Or as it is also called, a legacy gift or a planned gift. A simple explanation is, when someone leaves a gift to charity in their will, that is a planned gift. Since 1997, Lutheran Plan Giving, and now Charitus, has been serving people just like you, Lutherans in Canada, helping them make planned gifts to their church and community. I believe that there are people here who are familiar with this, as you have already made the decision to leave a gift in your will to the church. These gifts are often larger than what might be made in your regular offering, and there may be future consequences that need to be considered. That's where the planning comes in, and the term planned gift. Lutheran Plan Giving was started to assist people who had questions about making a planned gift. It is a ministry of the church to its members. Each one of us will leave a legacy, and the great thing is that we do get a say in the type of legacy that we will leave. Through a planned gift, you have the opportunity to share your legacy of faith, a faith that knows that God is constantly with us. For many of us, God and the church has been a constant present in our lives. Baptism, confirmation, marriage, illness, pandemics, the joyful times and the sad times. We may be unsure of the future, but we do know that the church has been important to us and we want to support it going forward. A planned gift is a sign of hope. We also leave gifts out of a sense of gratitude and generosity for the love of God that has showered on us in so many ways. That gratitude and generosity calls us to think about what we can do to support the church, even after we are no longer here. These gifts help move the mission of the church forward, being able to make the visions and dreams, such as a fully funded chaplaincy, supporting young people on their growing journeys through trips and experiences that will help them understand what it is like to live their faith, to assisting those studying for rostered ministry, welcoming newcomers, and building relationships, to name a few of the imaginings that Bishop Larry has outlined. A planned gift helps move the mission of God's church forward. I'd like to share a few stories with you. First of all, let's meet Bonnie and Joe. Bonnie and Joe are a couple in their late 40s. They have 3 children whom they adore. Bonnie works in retail and Joe is a mechanic. They live in Nova Scotia. Bonnie especially has been involved in her local church and at a synodical level. Supporting the church with their time and talents is just something they do. I love Bonnie and Joe's story. They decided they wanted to update their wills, partly because they were looking at how they might move to a piece of property they own. When they started looking at their plans, they just thought it was way too complicated to divide their estate 3 ways, with each child receiving 33.33333%. What was the solution? Bonnie and Joe are leaving 10% to charity, and the other 90% will be distributed equally between their children. Bonnie and Joe want to support their local church, but also have about 5 other charities they want to support, including the Synod, their local Habitat for Humanity, and Canadian Lutheran World Relief. Charitus was able to help and simplify things by setting up a distribution agreement with them. Instead of their executor having to deal with 6 different charities, they are leaving the 10% to Charitus. As Charitus is a charity, we will issue 1 tax slip to the estate that their executor can use when filing their final returns. Charitus will then distribute the funds according to the distribution agreement that Bonnie and Joe have established. Let's look a bit closer at how Bonnie and Joe created their legacy gift. Bonnie and Joe created a gift through their will, by far the most common way to leave a legacy gift. They created what we call mirror wills, leaving everything to each other first. The gift only becomes effective after the second person has died. This means that the assets for funds that they have saved over their years together are there for them to use as they need for their entire life. It is only after they are gone and no longer need these funds that the gift becomes available to the beneficiaries. Bonnie and Joe were intentional about supporting their local church, but also wanted to make funds available to the Synod, helping both their local and the wider church live out their call to mission. Bonnie and Joe created a distribution agreement with Charitus. This will assist their executor when the time comes, and it is flexible if Bonnie and Joe decide to make changes in the future. There are many ways that a gift in a will or a bequest can be made. Here are a few options that people have considered in the past. Tithing the estate. Once all the estate expenses have been finalized, 10% of the remaining or the residual is tithed to the church, the same way we might tithe or give a percentage of our income in our weekly offerings. And if 10% is not the right amount, maybe it is 3%, 5%, or even 50%. Adopting the Synod. How would you like to have another child? Let's say you have 4 children. You could distribute a part to each child. Or you could divide the estate into 5 parts and make the 5th part the Synod. This 5th part could also be divided between your Synod and other charities, just like Bonnie and Joe did. Endowing the pledge. Maybe you are someone who's been blessed with financial security, and you already share generously with your church and the Synod. Your concern might be, what happens when I am no longer here? I know that my offerings support my church and the Synod, and they will be missed when I am gone. One way to keep supporting after you die is to endow your pledge. If you were to gift 25 times your annual offering to the Synod, the income created from that gift would continue to support your church and the Synod in the years to come. Charitus has the experience to help you with your endowment gift. A gift in a will can be a dollar amount, a percentage, or even a piece of property. A gift can be for general use or for a specific purpose. We encourage general as much as possible so that the future generations can use that gift in a way that makes sense at that time. Let's meet Larry and Carol. Larry and Carol come from a large and diverse family whose grandparents immigrated to Canada a number of years ago. They have lived their lives as children of God and feel blessed with 3 sons, their wives, and 9 grandchildren. Larry and Carol have not been without their difficulties, both health and employment stability. They write, "Our faith and our faith communities have supported and sustained us in these journeys of uncertainty." Both Larry and Carol have served in various levels of the church, locally, synodically, and at the national level. Now in retirement, Larry and Carol feel that they have been blessed with more than adequate resources. They have set up a donor-advised fund that will support the church now and into the future, supporting these organizations in the good work that they do in the world. Larry and Carol have established a donor-advised fund, often called a DAF. The DAF is established during your lifetime, and you advise from year to year on the ministries or charities that you would prefer to see benefit from your fund. Charitus helped with the wording of the fund and will ensure that the income and the principal of the fund is distributed according to Larry and Carol's wishes. When both Larry and Carol have died, an additional gift will be made from their estate. They are ones that have actually adopted the church as their 4th child. There's a lot of flexibility when setting up a DAF. Today, we have heard the inspiring vision of what is and what could happen in the Alberta Synod. It may be that one of these activities is something that you would like to know will be here in the years to come. Maybe a donor-advised fund is something that you would consider, funding the Ponder a New Vision Fund over several years, ensuring its stability. I mentioned earlier that we all will be leaving a legacy. The important thing is we do have some choice on what that legacy could be. So often we think about what is the most recent important event in our lives. This is reflected when people die and the families make a decision to have donations and memorials made to the hospital or clinic that took care of mom and dad at the end of their life. What about the other decades where the church played such a central role? Why not remember the church and tell the story of how God was central in your life? Finally, let's look at Bob. Bob has a different reason for leaving a gift. His grandmother was his inspiration, and he made a gift to the church his grandmother attended. This is what Bob writes. "The donation was made in memory of my grandmother. She passed away 20 years ago at the age of 101. My grandmother's generous nature is the impetus for the gift. With COVID causing considerable hardship today, it is a reminder of her pioneer life as a 6-year-old young girl and her first Homestead Prairie home being a partially hollowed out hillside with a straw and sod room. There are so many inspiring stories from those early years." Bob is making 2 different gifts. One he has already made through a transfer of shares, a donation in kind. The second gift will be made after he dies through a bequest in his will, which will also be a transfer of shares. What can we learn from Bob? Bob made his gift in memory of his grandmother. Others have made gifts in memory of parents, a beloved Sunday school teacher, a music director, a longtime serving pastor, or a bishop. We are blessed in Canada that the Canadian Revenue Agency is very generous with tax laws when people transfer shares to a charity. Note, this is the actual transfer of the shares, not selling the shares ahead of time and donating the cash. Bob decided to make 2 gifts, one now to create a lasting legacy and one later through his will. Bob used the services of Charitus to make this donation. He found the process easy and economical. Charitus, as a nonprofit, has very low transfer fee for their services, less than you will be able to find in other places. And Charitus can assist you in ensuring these transfers are completed correctly and with the proper Revenue Canada documentation. We have assisted with the transfer of shares for congregations here in Alberta, for Camp Kyriakos, and for the Synod. Bob is also able to take advantage of generous Revenue Canada income tax rules and reduces taxes now and in the future with the donation of shares. I will be happy to talk with you if you have any questions about donations of shares to the Ponder a New Vision Fund or your local congregation now or in the future. There are other ways that you can make a gift to the church in its various expressions. These are a few ideas here. I'm happy to discuss any of these with you. Gifts in a will, which we've talked about, the most popular, with 60% of people taking advantage of this. Transfer of investments, which is what Bob did. You can also make gifts of your RSPs or RIFs, and this can result in significant tax savings. The most common way of gifting from your RSP or RIF is naming the charity, in this case, the Synod, as the beneficiary. The Synod receives your gift, and the charitable tax slip received by your estate will offset the taxes owing from the RSP income. Another benefit is that this is handled outside of the settlement of the estate, so there are no probate fees. Gifts of life insurance. We'll hear more about this in a few minutes. Annuities and anything that can be turned into cash can be a gift to the church. You do not need to wait until you are ready to act to start these conversations. In fact, I encourage you to ask questions, find out more, and then when you are ready, you will be able to make a decision that you feel happy and comfortable with and meets your philanthropic goals. I'd like to share a couple of quotes with you. The first one is by Henry Nouwen. Giving is a spiritual practice, a way of announcing our vision and inviting other people into our mission. Think about that a little bit as you, that this Ponder a New Vision Fund is inviting you into a vision and supporting something bigger than we ourselves can do by ourselves. And another quote by Laurie Gunther Reeser. A spiritual discipline means something Christians practice doing. Christians can learn how to give, just as how we learn how to pray. We have talked this evening a lot about planned giving. This is something that I'm passionate about. But even more than that, I believe that it is important to leave a gift to your family by having your affairs in order, which includes having a current will and power of attorney documents in place. This is a lasting gift that you can leave that everyone will appreciate. Your faith, your legacy. Will you leave a gift of faith to your church? We are now going to see a video from a couple who live in Calgary. They demonstrate how they have used planned giving to meet a variety of their philanthropic goals.
Hi, I'm Beth.
And I'm Dick.
We're members at All Saints Lutheran in Calgary. We've been asked to speak about planned giving. My parents, Irvin and Irene, did their planned giving through their will and left half of their estate to the church. We would like to do some similar things, so aside from our will, we have found other vehicles for making larger planned gifts.
We were very, very fortunate through our lives, and both in the professions we're in and also the choices we've made in purchasing stocks and other, you call them financial decisions. When we got into retirement, we realized we had a lot more than we really needed to have a comfortable retirement. And talking with our financial advisor, one of the suggestions they made was life insurance, whole life insurance. In this case, a charity of your choice, in our choice, it was the Alberta Synod, takes out a life insurance policy on us, and we pay the premiums. We are paying premiums for a 10-year period, and then the whole life policy is fully paid up. And then when we're gone, the Alberta Synod will get a very large amount of money into their coffers. It's something that we think works very well for us. One of the points about it is that premium that we pay, those dollars each year, are tax deductible. We get a charitable donation slip from the Synod for that dollar amount each year. But you need to remember, the Synod owns the policy. You don't have you're not the owner, and you don't have anything to do with the policy other than pay the premium. A second way that we've gone is through donating of shares. Some of the shares that we had purchased had substantial capital gains. The government has set up a system whereby if you donate a share and you get a tax receipt for the amount of the share on the date it changed into hands to that charity, and you don't have to declare the capital gains. It's a way of promoting Canadians to be donating their money. And that's something that we have done actually a number of times. One of the very first, and the largest we've made is to the to the Saskatoon seminary. And we were very fortunate at that time that the person at the seminary was very familiar with exactly what needed to be on the receipt. And that's helped us in other donations, because not all organizations are aware of how it should be done correctly. The other vehicle we use is really donations year to year. And we want to look at places and various things that we can support and do support. And we try to make sure we're donating everything we can each year. Beth.
We hope we've given you some ideas about planned giving and making larger gifts. If you would like to contact us, please feel free to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Beth and Dick. That's very inspiring, and I know both Beth and Dick, and I know their Beth's parents, Irvin and Irene, and those of you who know me know that they're actually my relatives of mine, but that's a wonderful story still. Thank you for joining us here tonight and hearing how you can make a difference, especially with the Synod's visioning and the Ponder a New Vision Fund. Thank you again to Bishop Larry for tonight and for inviting me to be with you. My contact information is on the screen. Feel free to reach out at any time. You can also contact the Synod office, and they will be able to provide you with how to get in touch with me.